Good trouble.
One of the things about good trouble is the word good. And I don't mean like morality good, I mean like having fun. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And if you're not having fun, you're not enrolling others to join the cause. And right now, we need to enroll a lot of people. Given what's going on, there's no excuse for empty seats, except for the fact that people don't know what to do. So you guys are the leaders of the next generation here, even those of you who are older than me. You are the leaders stepping up to take things on. And don't get scared when I say that, because taking things on, you can do stuff from the comfort of your home that we couldn't do 50 years ago. So while we're currently going backwards, we are still miles ahead of where we started. We have made a lot of gains. They're trying to take those away from us. But you know, there's something about once somebody's had a liberty, it's really hard to get them to give it up. And that's what we're here to protect, right? There's always a lot to learn from those who came before us, but it's also important to remember that the playbook of the 20th century doesn't work to stop a dictator. So, by a show of hands, we're going to find out who's in the room with us. So I want you guys to play and you guys to play. We're going to find out who's here. There are several things on the flyer that we're going to be doing today. And I need to know if you wanted to do all of them or just one, so you can raise your hand as many times as you want. Are you here to network? Okay. Are you here to join a group? Like you're looking for the group you want to join. Perfect. Are you here to introduce a group? Everybody over here should be raising their hands. Okay, and we got a couple over here. Perfect. Okay. Are you here to teach? Okay. Are you here to learn? Oh, I love you guys. My favorite. Who here started protesting for the, don't be embarrassed, this is an honor. If you started protesting for the first time in your life this year. Wow. Is there anyone here who's been protesting for it just like started within the last 10 years? Okay, so a huge majority. 20 years? Nice. 30 years. I got comrades here. 40 years. Right on. 50 years. You are all absolutely welcome, and thank you so much for being here. I am moved and honored and excited that there's this much enthusiasm to take on creating a world that we love. So I'm here to amplify your voice, others' voices, and to facilitate networking and to help ensure your safety and well-being when you are out making a difference in the world. I recognize that it takes to show up and okay, there we go. I recognize what it takes to show up and want to contribute. It takes love, empathy, compassion, and courage, and I recognize that in all of you. Networking. So there was a slide in the slideshow for those of you who were here earlier. It said, don't mourn, organize, and the fish are going. Well, this is the same thing, right? I want to know, I think everyone wants to know who's in the room. And we've only got 2 hours, and we got a lot to cover. So I'm going to take this opportunity to have various people, since Mitch is running the mic around too, introduce themselves and their organization. My request is that you keep it short, 2 to 5 minutes, so you know who they are and you know who you might want to ask questions to or interact with again later. The GOP are working to keep us angry at each other so they can lie to us, cheat the system, and steal from everyone. When we work together, we are stronger. I don't want these groups necessarily to become a melting pot. I want them to stand for what they stand for, and I want us to support each other. You know, when the gun safety is out doing a March for Our Lives march, or when the healthcare caucus is trying to get people to, you know, fix our healthcare system, that we can show up for all those things and still be who we are. So, I'm going to start over here. If you guys could just go along and pass the mic along and take a moment to introduce who you are, so that afterwards if people want to come talk to you and they know who they can get help from. Because these are people who are like already in action.
So I have the microphone, so I'm going to start. You will listen to every damn word I say. Again, my name is Mitchell. I'm the chair of the Utah State Progressive Caucus. We are the leftist faction of the Utah State Democratic Party, constantly pushing and pushing. So I go to two protests. I go to the Hill and protest the GOP, and then I go to convention and I protest the Democrats. So, why we're here and what we're about is we're teaching people how to take over the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has been taken over by corporatists, let's just say that. And there's a pathway to take down the corporatists in the Democratic Party on the state level, on the national level, but we have to get involved. And you got to know how to do it. So that's what we're recruiting what we call delegates. How many of you are delegates right now? Oh, look at the potential for so many delegates. If I told you right now, if I told you right now, I know, don't interrupt. If I told you right now, 300 people could change the entire Democratic Party in the state, would you join up and do it? Okay, I'll see 300 of you, this table, after the presentation.
My name is Michelle Rivera. I am with the Progressive Caucus. I am also on the board of Planned Parenthood. I am also an elected official of the city of Mill Creek, Holiday, and South Salt Lake. I am also on the Black Caucus. You see that I'm in a lot of organizations. I used to be rogue. I used to do whatever I wanted and do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, didn't care who the candidate was. And then one day, Jade talked to me and said, would you like to join the Democratic Party? And I said, no, Jade, I don't. I want to do what I want to do. But he convinced me, and I have been with the Democratic Party for about a year now, and it has given me resources, ideas, has created a large network for me to continue doing the type of work that I want to do, which is more progressive work. Like Mitch said, there are many opportunities and empty seats in the Democratic Party that are not currently filled, and that we need younger, more progressive people to fill, because there's no way that we're going to get our AOC, our Jasmine Crockett, unless those people come and join the party. Being rogue gets us far, but to change the actual narrative, we also need people as part of the system as well. Both can work hand in hand, and that's what I do in my everyday political activity.
Hi everybody, my name is Jade Velasquez. I'm the current chair of the Salt Lake County Democratic Party. And thank you. Mitchell is one of my favorite people in the whole world because we don't agree on everything, but we agree on a lot. And the Democratic Party is made up of the people that show up in the room, and I am really inspired to see all of you come out. We need more diverse voices in the party, and I would just make the distinction that there's capital D Democratic Party and small d Salt Lake County Democratic Party. We do not get money from corporations. We get all of our money from local small dollar donors like you. So we value all of the different perspectives, and I respect and appreciate all the voices that you bring. So when it comes to the party, we've got a lot of coalition building that we do, right? It's the Progressive Caucus, it's the Black Caucus, it's the Women's Caucus, the Hispanic Caucus. and many other grassroots organizations that are popping up every day. I've been really impressed with the work that 5051 has been doing, organizing protests. We love a little bit of good civil disobedience and good trouble. So there is a place for you in the party, and your voice is welcome. I've had a few people tell me I'm way too progressive for the party, and that's exactly where you need to be. So we have Democratic Socialists that are with us, we have Republicans that are with us that are actually Democrats. So you might be surprised what you might find. But what I like to say is that people come for the issue and then they stay for the people. I can tell you that all of you have a lot more in common than anybody outside of this room. You probably were not a fan of the January 6th people getting released from prison. That's something that we can all agree on. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to work together, and I would love to see all of you come out to convention. This is going to be a couple thousand people getting together to share ideas, and the role of the party is not to say, this is what we're doing. I am here to facilitate the conversations across all of the people with different viewpoints, and the best policy wins. So if enough of you can organize to get people that are, to find that future Jasmine Crockett or the future Michelle Rivera, who's going to be leading the party one day, each one of you has a skill that you can bring. So your professional background, we would love to have you come and bring those skills to the party. So thank you for being here.
I am Terry Gilfillan. I am the board chair at the Gun Violence Prevention Center of Utah. We are a non-political organization. Our mission is to educate the public on the incidents of gun violence in Utah and advocate for policies that will make our community safer. We have seen over the last 15 years a steady increase in gun violence in the state of Utah, and we are trying everything we can. We are fighting a huge fight because we have a very super majority who has taken up the false narrative that was out there by the NRA and the gun lobby. And the false narrative is not to protect you, as they claim, it's to sell more guns. And that's what they've been able to do, but unfortunately, it hasn't protected us from gun violence. So, if you're interested in protecting our communities from gun violence, come see me.
Hi, I'm Jessica Bastine, and this is
Chris Barahona.
And we are here on behalf of Utah March. We are a newly formed grassroots organization, or a rainbow coalition, as some would call it. And we are focused, we formed in January, just to be clear about how new we are. But we came together as a way to provide safe spaces and opportunities for freedom of speech for our community, and a place of gathering for marginalized voices. And we've so far conducted that through protests and rallies. We did Unite for Our Rights on February 8th, and then La Gran Marcha through our BIPOC committee on March 1st. So if you were at any of those events, that was one of our organization efforts. And through the forming of our overall group, we've branched out to form committees focusing on giving spaces for those marginalized voices to organize within their space of understanding and impact. And we're focusing next on our next event, which will be April 26th, which is Justice Now, Access Always, protesting the defunding of Medicaid. Chris, was there anything you wanted to add?
I'll go ahead. Yeah.
Remember, just 2 minutes each.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, I'll be quick.
Sorry.
Long story short, like I said, I'm Chris. I'm part of the BIPOC committee. Kind of much like Michelle, right, Michelle?
Right.
I used to be Rogue for a really long time, and then I met Jazz, who is also part of our BIPOC committee, and we just met through similar pro-Palestinian activist circles, and then from there we kind of just started talking more and hanging out more, and she reached out to me because I'm very politically active. Some might even say I'm a little bit too progressive. I'm a little bit extreme sometimes, apparently, but I mean, that's the beauty about our Rainbow Coalition is we got all different kinds of people in there where ultimately we probably have different pathways of how we go about achieving our goals, but we're still united in achieving, you know, the progressive end of it all. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Check this out, I prepared 2 minutes.
My hero.
Show off, whatever.
My name is Maddie Jackson. I'm a local rank and file union organizer, and I'm a co-chair of the Salt Lake chapter of the national, the national organization, the Democratic Socialists of America. We are a member-funded, multi-tendency, genuinely democratic political group and the largest socialist organization in the United States. When we talk about organizing for change as socialists in Salt Lake DSA, we emphasize 2 tasks that workers need to overcome in the immediate future. The first is building a mass political movement, and the second is the socialist organization and class-conscious element inside of that mass movement. The mass movement is intuitive to everybody who's here because we're politically active people. We understand that higher participation, larger movements are a prerequisite for change. However, too often there is an abandonment of the importance of democratic worker structures and the organized socialist left inside of that movement. This is the historic key to building a working class which does not only seek to tax billionaires, but rejects the right to accumulate and steal such wealth in the first place. It's a movement that does not unionize to bargain for wages at the rate of inflation, but demands democratic control of the economy by the people. Without a strong worker party and organization, how will we make collective democratic decisions as an organized class of people with mass participation? How will we decide and organize when, where, and how to strike back against our class enemies? How will we hold our office holders accountable if we do not create democratic structures which serve us, the people, and that are resistant to the influence of the billionaire class? And most importantly, what will be the long-term political vision of the activist workers inside of that movement? Will they compromise endlessly, or will they have the confidence to seek power and genuinely transform this economy? I believe that DSA will be a leading element of that mass movement and that socialist party, and this is why I choose to organize inside of it. Locally as a chapter, we are fighting for the protection of political speech on Palestine, consumer boycotts of Israel, a trans sanctuary city in Salt Lake, politically educating our members to be strong socialist organizers in their communities and workplaces, amongst other projects related to housing, migrant rights, unions, and mutual aid. I would encourage you to join DSA to build yourself a credible workers' party and movement independent of the capitalist and establishment elements of the Democratic Coalition. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My name is Sophia, and I am so new that I don't know if I deserve to be here. But in terms of what you were saying earlier, how do we organize, how do we get together, this was my intent in creating a Discord. So a Discord is a different kind of platform that maybe we can all kind of talk in a relaxed space without any red tape. And be able to talk about ideas, if not in Discord, because I understand there's a lot of conversation regarding it. But to at least connect people to be able to start talking outside of it on like different other kind of platforms. That's probably the main thing, is to be a hub between all these different organizations. As I kind of interacted with a bunch, it just feels really discombobulated, just people not talking together, or groups not being able to talk to each other, also holding things very close to their chests, and that's totally understandable. So that is the background goal of this Discord, but aside from that, it's also a place where I hope to be able to make it available to see all the events, all the protests, all the meetings, all the workshops, all the seminars, and like if we have any like people who want to run for House District, like Kenneth here or Daniil, like we can have a spot to like say, hey, these people are running. My goal is to facilitate what you guys are doing. I think since I created it, or not created it, but like kind of tried to start this in January, my talent is not in creating things, that's your guys' talent. I just want to make it possible and help you find people, like when I talked with Angel, basically in our coffee shop, we kind of started workshopping this event. So to be able to help people find their volunteers and organizations, make that possible. So that's my goal, because I don't know what the future is going to hold. I don't know how to do it. I know that people have been here before, but it's new to me and it is scary. And the only way we can go forward is if we have each other and have a community, be able to trust some people who are neighbors near us. And so it's scary and we can't do it alone. So.
I am Joe Gonzalez, and I belong to the Target Group, which is a consulting firm owned by my brother, and I'll let him go into all the details. See how easy that was?
I wish I could get him to stop talking like that at home, but I can't. My name is James Gonzalez. I am the dreaded political consultant. I spend a lot of my time kind of analyzing things at this point. I had a stroke a few years ago. I've stepped away a little bit, but my health has improved. My mind is back to kind of 90% of where it needs to be. A little background on me. I've spent almost 40 years working in politics in the state of Utah. I've focused most of that time on electing folks who normally would not be talking to political consulting companies. I've dealt with folks who are, I've dealt with African American and Latinos and Asian and gay and lesbian folks. I remember helping to form the Gay and Lesbian Utah Democrats in about 1987 or 88, something like that, and started from there. I worked with getting folks elected, the late Senator Pete Suazo, the current state senator Luz Escamilla, Angelo Romero, former Senator Gene Davis, Randy Horiuchi, the current sheriff, Rosie Rivera. I find people who I think deserve my time, mostly, and usually I analyze that based on a couple of meetings where we talk about what they want to accomplish and who they are and who they think they're going to be representing. This young lady in a 30-second conversation is brilliant. Clear and simple. These folks I've not met before, but so far they seem brilliant as well. And then there's the guy with the party who I like. Actually, he's probably the best thing to have happened to the Democratic Party on a county level in probably 20 years, just in terms of his focus on organizational and structure. And so beyond that, I just want to tell you that there's people in the room who've never done anything politically. You've never woken up in the morning and said, I'm going to get this done, and it involves politics. Everyone here is possible, capable of doing that. And so even though you didn't raise your hand when they said, have you gone to a precinct caucus meeting? It's easy. It is easy. And most of the people that I talked to you about and named their names were challengers within the Democratic Party. They were people who weren't elected and decided that the seat that they were looking at deserved to be represented by a person of color, by a gay and lesbian person, for a progressive person, or whomever. And the person holding that seat probably needed to go. And so a lot of what I've done in 40 years is shaking the hands of I'm just going to say this out loud. I've spent a lot of time shaking hands with conservative white Mormon men and showing them the door and welcoming someone else in. I continue to do that, and will continue to do that. So if you have any questions, I'm here.
I'm going to come up front here just because I'm on the side. My name is Catherine Butte, and I am the current president of the Women's Democratic Club of Utah.
I want you to, I know it sounds weird, but that is actually an organization that has nothing to do with the Democratic Party. It was founded in 1896.
We're at 129 years, 130 this
And it was founded when they took the vote away from women. So women had the vote in Utah, and in 1896 they took it away, and this organization was founded and has been one of the most loud, radical voices in the state ever since. And if you haven't heard of them, it's just because you haven't been playing in politics, because they're everywhere.
Yeah, we are currently at 360 members. Since the first of the year, an additional 60 members have joined our group. We are funded by members who want to change the dynamic here in Utah. It's been around since in the good times and the bad times of the Democratic Party here in Utah. What we do today is if you are interested in running for office, we do scholarship women to take the political development series so they can learn how to run and win campaigns. It gives you a basic understanding. In addition to that, we have monthly luncheons where we get together and we talk about relevant issues that are here in our state. The next one that we'll be having will be on in May, and then we'll have one in June that covers immigration. So if you sign up, you'll get on our newsletter, and you can then receive the information. And if you want to join us, we do meet in Cottonwood Heights, so it's local to Salt Lake. Just about me in particular, I didn't get into politics until 2020 when I ran for a House district down in Harriman, Utah. Harriman, super conservative place. Candace Perucci, you're talking, so I had no idea what I was doing. And then I was recruited to be the treasurer of the Women's Democratic Club, or the WDC. So I've been involved since then. Definitely the WDC, we partner with the Salt Lake County Party, and great job that they have done in organizing. And I kind of got left as the House District Chair out in House District 49. So if you're from Harriman, please come out and help us. What can I say about that? We need more people out there because it is such a conservative district. And I was actually on your ballot. Last year I ran for state auditor, 31.23% of the vote statewide. So you may have recognized my name, and I'm currently running to change the dynamic of the Utah Democratic Party because I'm running as the state treasurer for that. So very interesting. And it's because of people like you who come to these events that we can change the dynamic here in Utah. So get involved, and we have cards here for the WDC if you're interested.
Thank you. Thank you. Artists are critical, and I'm going to get to that again when we talk about media. And I'm talking dancers, writers, singers, songwriters, drummers, painters, sculptors. They will have another way that we can get the message across where it doesn't get old and stale. There comes a point when you're doing the same old thing over and over, and you're not going to get a new result. It's true with protesting. So, artists challenge authority in ways that words cannot. Oh, one other thing. If you do go to a town hall or any event of that nature, there are things that you can do that make a huge difference when you're not allowed to shout out, or you don't want to become part of a crazy angry mob, but you want to say, no, this isn't true. A little plastic kazoo goes a long way. It goes past any metal detector, and you get enough people in the audience doing a it makes a difference. And you can thank an artist for that. Okay. You heard, unions. You've been hearing lots about unions, and I hope everyone here has signed a petition. Do not leave today without signing it if you haven't yet.
Petitions here for people to sign.
Okay, so those are the people. If you haven't signed one, they have one. I have one. My union is affected. My job is affected. And this is just the test thing. Yes, this is the public unions, but they're going after all of them. So we stand together, we survive together. If you work someplace that doesn't have a union, or you're not a member of a union, you can have a union anywhere, any job. Worst case scenario, my husband is like, there's no union for executives who do marketing, and I'm like, sure, the IWW, they do everybody. So there's no excuse. Okay. Party politics. This is about becoming a delegate. You guys have heard about this several times tonight. There are 400 empty delegate seats in the Utah State Democratic Party.
In the county alone.
In the county alone. Sorry, just in the county. There's more than that around the state. Now, the Democratic Party is not an institution like that is them forever who they are. It changes and ebbs and flows depending on who's in charge and who's voting and who's showing up. So if you don't like the way that they're doing things, it's because you're not showing up. If you show up and you bring your friends to show up and we have more people showing up, it changes everything. Ben Peck, would you stand up, please? I love Ben. Woo! We have 2 people running for chair right now. Both people I love and adore. Good people. They're very, very different perspectives. And you get to decide if you're a delegate. If you're not a delegate, you don't get to decide. Ben is one of the people running for chair, and he is a progressive. And Brian is one of the people running for chair, and what do we call him?
He's nice.
He's a centrist.
He's a centrist, and they're both sweethearts. But, it makes a huge difference who's leading the party and who's participating. So if you don't like it, I know it sounds weird to say join it, but I'm saying take it over. Okay. Oh, and to become a delegate, they want you to do a lot of things like knocking on doors and calling people. Those are just like wish list things. The only thing you have to do is show up to a convention, and you can zoom in for that. You don't actually have to be there. And go to like 1 or 2 meetings the rest of the year. It's better if you go to more because you have more influence if you go to more, but it's not a huge commitment and your voice gets amplified.
But if you're going to be a delegate, then show up when you're supposed to show up. Don't leave that seat empty.
I've called delegates all week long because I'm supporting 2 campaigns, and I can tell you right now there's several of them that have no idea what it means to be a
They're like,
delegate,
oh.
and they're holding seats instead of you guys.
Yeah.
And they're not
How many
doing
people
shit.
here have thought about running for office ever? Of those people, how many have run for office? Awesome, awesome. Okay, very good. So, the Women's Democratic Club does do, Catherine talked about it, there's a really great course. It costs like $200 with the Women's Legislative Institute, Leadership Institute. It's a 6-month intensive where you learn everything you need to know about running for office. It's only for women. And for those guys who are like, but hey, what about me? I will say, thank you, please run. But if there's a woman who's equally qualified to you running, or a person of color equally qualified to you running, please consider letting them be the one run.
And for that cause. Join today.
They pay for that by membership dues. So it does cost $35 a year to be a member of the Women's Democratic Club. That money goes to training candidates and supporting candidates and educating the public with their monthly classes.
Angel,
Yeah.
can I speak about the delegates, please, for just a sec? Okay, so I saw a bunch of hands raised that you might want to become a delegate of the Democratic Party. If you're interested in that, it is all run through your House District Chair. So you can visit our website, slcountydems.com, to find out who your House District Chair is, and they will let you know if there's a vacancy in your area. I have business cards up here as well, so if you would like to run for one of those vacancies, let us know.
We do have plans at the end to, Mitch is going to be set up either in this room or we've got the conference room as well to help people get forms filled out to request to become a House Chair or a delegate. So that is in the, now the next thing is I'm going to be talking about Jim Gonzalez. There are a couple of different political organizing consulting groups in the area, some more conservative, some more liberal. I asked Jim to come because he has a reputation of supporting LGBTQIA and people of color and getting them elected when people say it's impossible. So for those of you who want to run, you definitely want to talk to Jim, and he wants to speak.
Okay. Look, as you decide, if you decide to run for one of these delegate positions, and call your ledge chair, and your ledge chair is having a bad day, they don't want to look up the list, they're going to say, just run again. Don't take no for an answer. What the status quo depends on is that you will take no for an answer, right? And the ledge chairs have the ability to appoint delegates to unfilled positions, not just the neighborhood you live in. So your ledge chair, if they're well-intended, will ask your address, and then they'll look up and they'll see that whoever is the representative, the delegate in your precinct is already filled. Then you say, well, are there other precincts, and don't you have the authority to appoint?
We live in the same house, and we're precinct chairs for 2 different districts.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things that aren't filled up. There's a lot of desire to have new people engage and activate, and the only way you do that is by standing up, thickening your spine a little bit, and then going in and getting what you deserve.
One other point. If you have a woman in your life who is a strong woman, who is a great leader, and she's not thinking of running for office, please ask her 7 times. No, I mean it. Statistically, they say a woman has to be asked to run 7 times before she thinks about it. So, remind them. There's a reason that, we have more men in office. One, because women couldn't for a long time, but also because women have been conditioned that they shouldn't, and that, maybe they're not qualified enough. I'm telling you, most of the people up on the hill are not qualified at all. Okay, now we're getting into going to protests. And I have some stories, but we're at 6:30. We've got, did that just cut out? Yeah. We've got an hour left. I think it died. And so I'm not, if anybody wants to hear my stories, but people keep panicking about what's going on with Trump and illegal arrests, and I'm here to tell you that there were lots of illegal arrests under Reagan. And we didn't have social media highlighting it and letting people know. And I know because I was arrested for wearing a yellow t-shirt. Literally, that's how I was picked out of the crowd. And I'll give you the details at another time if you want, just because of time. But I have this on the board because you need to know your rights. It is very important. Police then, police now, don't always let you know what they are. They try and pretend like they have a right to tell you to turn off your camera, but they don't. They try and tell you that they have a right to confiscate your camera, but they don't. And here, let me just get back to my notes because I get very passionate about this one. You don't need to have a permit to protest if you're on a public space. A sidewalk, you can protest there without a permit. And if you're trying to protest at the Capitol, they will tell you have to pay. But, Sam, will you tell us what they need to know about that?
You do not have to pay. You get 2 hours for free and a free speech permit. You actually have to help somebody with the permit with matching veterans rally. And so she signed up to do it. She paid $600. Do that.
They will tell you have to pay because that's on their website. It says you have to pay.
Yeah.
But it's free speech and you say that's what you're there for.
Yeah, you get 3 hours of free speech time after the Capitol permit. We were able to get that reversed.
So you have the right to photograph anything in plain view. You can't photograph something inside the police car unless you're outside the police car looking in, kind of thing. If you are stopped by police, you can ask, do I have the right to go? And if they say yes, calmly walk away. Just because you have the right to yell at an officer doesn't mean it's going to turn out in your favor. If anything does go awry, either dictate in your phone, like video it right away, give the time and date so that, when you are testifying about it, your story hasn't changed with time. Because we all know stories change with time, especially if you have children and they're like, Mom, you said. I didn't. Yes, Sam?
If you're reporting stuff at protest, turn off your biometrics. They do not need a warrant to take your fingerprint. Turn off your biometrics.
Turn off your biometrics. That's what she said. protest, consider inviting the ACLU as witnesses. It is a very, very useful tool that has served us very well in litigation issues when things go awry, to have an ACLU witness there. That witness cannot participate in the protest. They can't take your picture. They can't do anything but witness. And that's what they do. And then when the cop says, she bit me, and the witness says she didn't, the ACLU witness actually holds more gravity in court than the cop or the protester.
They're really busy though. So get a hold of them early and don't have your feelings hurt if they're too busy to come to your event. So.
Or the National Lawyers Guild.
Yeah. Okay, if you're organizing an event, please put your phone up and get this. ADA accommodations are critical, and that even means when you're posting something online. So this will take you to a 3-page report on everything you need to know about ADA accommodations. Please, please, please consider other people who want to be involved, but for reasons outside of their control, they can't. When you post, let's say just a poster or a picture like the one in your hand online, and you don't do alt text and fill it out, a blind person does do social media. Blind people do Facebook. And they use alt text to know what they're looking at. So if you just say image, they don't know what that is. You would say melting upside down flag, and then what the words are, because their computers will read to them what you wrote, but they won't read the pictures. The last thing, I moved on, but the last thing about ADA, about being safe before I move on to media. Be careful who you trust. Sorry, it is the nature of the beast. The government has been set up as long as it's, as long as I can remember, since before civil rights, since before suffragettes, and it continues, where they infiltrate because they think they're going to catch the bad guys. We're not the bad guys. So they're welcome here. If someone's here from any of from the government, you are absolutely welcome. You're just not welcome if you disrupt, and usually they don't. But we can learn from Hegseth, which I thought I would never say. How do you learn from an idiot? Well, you don't do what he did. 1, and 2, salt and sugar look the same. That's all. So, as long as you're not doing anything that you have to hide, you're fine, but just know, be aware. Okay. The media, moving right along. The media are hungry alligators. They must eat, and if you want to be part of the narrative, you learn how to feed them. Social media is bubble communication. If you just rely on social media, you think absolutely Hillary won. Right? But it's bubble communication. And what we're doing when we protest is, yes, we're cathartic and we're getting our angst out, but we're also getting the story told. It is absolutely mind-blowing how many people still have their head in the sand. I was at the gym the other day and they said, "What are you guys doing tonight?" And I said, "I'm collecting signatures." And they said, "For what?" Like, how do you not know? Doesn't everybody in Salt Lake know? No, I'm in a room with 50 people who have no idea.
Also,
yeah.
When a reporter approaches you and you're at an event, know what entity they work for. Channel 2 has become incredibly conservative in the way they approach things. Channel 4 tends to be absolutely clueless. They will do anything you tell them. In many ways, because they don't. Well, think about it. The new staff on Channel 4, they're 12. Yeah, they've never done this before. Remember we were talking before about, 20 or 30 years ago we used to do stuff and you'd have Chris Van Oker or something like that show up and he'd ask you intelligent questions based on his experience. That doesn't happen anymore. It happens with Channel 5, but they're not going to take you where you want to go. They're going to take you where they want you to go. I hate to say this out loud, but Channel 13, Fox.
Fox News Utah is the most liberal news station in Utah.
I know. Be prepared to tell the story you want them to run. Do not just answer the questions they give you. If you go there for a reason, and be ready to talk about that reason and prepare everybody 6 people away from you to prepare to tell that same story. Because if you're too eager, they're going to walk away from you. But if you prepare 2 people next to you, they're also lazy. They're not walking very far, right? Because you're up near the front and the lighting is good there. So just make sure you.
When you plan your event, you have to also plan what story you're telling and how you're telling it. Because I guarantee that story can be stolen from you in an instant if the way you're doing it is boring. And that's what we do. That's why I say include your artists. So my friend Edward, there was a pro-Trump rally in his town in New Mexico. So what did they do? They got a blow-up elephant, and then they paper mache'd all over it sponsorships, Pfizer and BFS and all these corporations and BlackRock, and they took the elephant to the protest, and people were like, oh cool, an elephant, you're with us. Guess what made the news? The elephant.
Another thing I just wanted to bring up was for like the younger people in the crowd that I know that I see, I'm pretty sure that 51 has run into some of these people and things like that too, but streamers. A lot of conservative streamers will just come into your guys, like I'm not going to say your guys, our crowds, and just try to agitate people or just, try to ask very pointed questions in a way where they try to, just agitate you and everything. Again, just what you want to do is just best practice is if you don't feel comfortable in a certain topic that they try to pigeonhole you in, just completely walk away from them. But, if you are going to talk to them, make sure that you are talking about what you are there for and the cause and nothing else, because they will try to agitate you in any possible way.
Yeah. That is part of the conversation we're having here today. Counter-protests are always, from us or from them, don't engage in counter-protests. That becomes the story. Because a conflict is more interesting for people who are trying to sell advertising than peace and love and joy.
We had someone, a person who has millions of followers, came to our table at a protest at the Capitol, did exactly what you're talking about. And
I'm aware of who it is too.
There were people who were mad at them, and I just remained calm.
So if they are not part of our cause and they're joining the group, the cops have a job. This is actually an assigned job for officers who are there, is to keep them separate. So counter-protests have to be across the road or I don't know the exact distance, but a distance away. And you can let an officer know, hey, there's a counter-protester who's trying to start fights over here. Can you remind them they have to be in their section?
And Angel, don't be afraid to hold hands with 12 other people and just walk around.
Okay, well, you're getting ahead of me. That's where we're going. You were going to say?
Just on the side of counter-protesters, those streamers specifically, we all know those people are. Last protest, they kind of made the claim that they were on both sides, and I think it was to avoid being separated.
Yeah, okay, but you get to decide. If it's your protest and they're saying, no, we're on your side, you're like, no, you're not. Officer, you can take them away. Okay, what Jim was just talking about is a training that I did in 1982, and they had done in the 60s, the person who trained me, and they had done in the 40s, and it's for saboteurs. So I mostly started in the environmental
Space.
activism, thank you for the word, and corporations often paid people to come and steal the story. they would have them light up a joint in front of the camera, so the story became about, oh, they're just, you know, stoned hippies. Or they punch somebody in front of the camera, and the story became about that. So, exactly what Jim said. If you have a huge protest, Sam, you'll want to have a dozen people who are, that's their job, is that they look out for saboteurs, and they have a means of communicating with each other and say, you know, this part of the law now, and you surround that person. The cameras can't see them now, so it's a boring story, and you escort them over to the cops. Or if they won't move, you get somebody to go to get the cops and bring them to you. But you have now shut down that story from the media.
I've got something even better. One person with a speaker playing copyrighted Disney music.
Yeah.
One thing I also learned, just because I, like she said, like I said before, I was rogue for the longest time, and I study a lot of like right-wing politics and everything like that too. One thing I learned that really like upsets these streamers and everything like that is not saying anything to them at all, covering their camera. That really ticks them off, and then at that point, they're the ones making themselves look like a fool on stream because they're getting so pissed off that they can't see anything that's going on. And I've noticed that with one of the streamers out here that, you know, when you cover his camera, he goes ballistic. And at that point, he's there to make you mad. And you've completely flipped it on him, and now he's the one that gets all upset. Don't say anything, cover that camera. I guarantee you, you'll probably end up moving somewhere else or just leaving if everybody's on the same page.
If you haven't checked already, this QR code is a press release list if you need press email addresses so you can send out press releases. When you send a press release, write what you want them to write. There are a lot of lazy journalists in Utah. And I can't tell you how often I've sent a press release and then I read it and I'm like, how come they put their name on that story? I wrote it. But that's okay. That's what I wanted them to say. Okay. Moving right along.
And after you stormed the castle, then what you did?
So, there are tools at our disposal that we didn't have when we were stopping the bombs going off at the Nevada test site, and we didn't have when we were stopping dumping in the Mississippi River, but we have now and we need to use them. These are some, you don't have to. Some of you only heard about Signal yesterday for the first time. Some of you have been using Signal for a long time. There's a reason they were using Signal, because they don't take your data. Discord, Sophia talked about that. She has a whole presentation ready so that you can learn about Discord. It's another tool that has more options than like Slack or Teams. And you can get multiple groups in one thing, and a great way to share. If the Druids are doing a protest, and 5051 is doing a protest, and the Women's Democratic Club is doing an educational series, and March for Utah is doing something, they're not doing it all at the same time. You know, because like you're like, hey, we've got something on the 5th. Oh, okay, good, we'll put ours on the 6th. You know, like we don't want to be stepping on each other's toes, and that's one way. How many people, by show of hands, would like a tutorial on Discord? Because, okay, great. So in a minute, we are going to have a little breakout, and Sophia's going to take you into the other room to do that, and then we'll have Mitch do, and Jay help people who want to become delegates, because I saw more hands for the delegates, so I was, depending on how many hands I saw, which room. Yes, Peter?
Before everybody breaks out, just a mundane.
Oh, we still got a half hour, but yeah.
Good, well, a lot of people are leaving, so, on April the 5th is actually general conference, so it's going to be a madhouse downtown, so I advise you to call for.
Can you guys hear him in the back? April 5th protest is conference. So, parking downtown will be a nightmare. Public transportation, carpooling, planning on walking a little ways. Just.
And I think April 26th is the Salt Lake Marathon. So that's something to keep in mind.
So April 26th is the Salt Lake Marathon. Check those routes if that blocks your passage.
Keep in mind there's a large free fare zone in the downtown area, so you can park at other parking lots and bus into the protest. It's free.
It's free, yeah. Park downtown, bus in. If you park on 3rd South, you pay, but if you park on 5th South, you don't. I mean, for parking. Okay, there are other things you can do besides protesting. I promised that there were things you can do if you want to stay home. Yes, we have special elections coming up. And if you like the Democrats or the Republicans, or you don't like either of them, it's still important. So go and check out the candidates in Florida, and if there's one that you're like, oh, hell no, which I'm hoping, help the other one. And you can help the other one by contacting their thing and saying, hey, can I do some phone calling for you? Because that election is April 1st. That's this week. That means this weekend you could be making phone calls and helping get people out to vote. The other thing is, people in Salt Lake County get lazy, and I'm included in that, about staying in communication with your representatives. Because when you, like in my district, I have the House representative is really liberal, Democrat Sahara Hayes, and my senator, Nate Lewin, he's an absolute environmentalist, and you know, I'm covered, right? No, they need to be called as much as the Republicans need to be called, because I tell you what, they're getting 50 calls a day from Republicans who are yelling at them, telling them they're too far left. And then they start scooching right, because they're like, oh, everybody's telling me I'm too far left. And then we're like, wait a minute, how come you scooched right? We don't want you to the right. Well, call them and thank them for doing a good job when they do a good job. And call them and tell them when they don't. Okay, is there, I didn't see any children anymore, right? Is there anybody offended by language? You're offended by language? Okay. I am going to do one more thing as we leave, and people can talk because it'll be loud, but it is probably the most important message of the night, besides acknowledging how awesome you guys are for being here. So in a minute, what I'm going to do is, this is the part where I ask that you don't leave, but you network. You meet with the people who stood up, that you're like, oh, I want to know more about you, you know. You can come and sign up for the newsletter, Women's Democratic Club. You can come and see how you can help with the march coming up. And you can sign up to be a delegate. Jade, Michelle, and Mitch can actually all help you over here. And then Sophia, if you see right through the windows here, that room in there, she's going to go and help you. She do a full tutorial on Discord. And anyone who's got an organization, make sure you talk to Sophia so your organization can be in that Discord, so that your information is there too.
But I just have it's a side thought, it's not Discord related, it's just more in terms of like, since we have a bunch of organizations here together, like if we have a bunch of organizations here together, I'm just like, why can't we workshop ideas? Like town halls between organizations that are about topics that people are concerned about. So if you're an organization that deals with like homeless and hungry food, why can't we talk about all together like how we can make it a town hall for you guys? Or if we can...
Sophia, the microphone needs to be closer to your mouth.
And so that is kind of some of the ideas that I'm talking about. Thank you. And so I just would like for us to also take this opportunity to workshop ideas of how we can help each other and what we can do on a grand scale.
Yeah, and I was hoping we'd have those conversations on a smaller level, because we have a limit on time, but that's one of the things I want you to stick around and talk about. If you have ideas and you're like, oh, hey, I'm an artist and I can do these puppet things that are like Ben Puppet, and we can do, you know, whatever your idea is. It's not a bad idea, it needs to be voiced, and we'll figure it out, right? A ship in a harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for. And a lot of people don't get involved with politics because it's safe to not get involved in politics, but if you live in a society, that's not what you're built for. That's how we create community, and that's how we keep our sanity with each other, is being involved. And I'm going to go back to what I said at the very beginning. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. Or as Emma Goldman said, if you can't dance, it's not my revolution. I have a whole series of books over here that the library pulled for us that are about the topics we've talked about tonight. Have a look at them. You can check them out downstairs. They pulled those in hopes that the conversation will keep going after we leave. And 5 calls, that's the other one. Does everybody have this app right here on their phone? Show of hands. Okay. If you don't, please, please, please put that app on your phone. It's an awesome app. What it does is you put in your address, and it knows who your reps are. And every day that something awful happens and I get mad, it gives me an outlet. I pull up my phone, I click 5 calls, I pick the topic I want to talk about. They give me a script. I don't need one because I know exactly what I want to say. But you can use the script if you want, and then I click through my reps and I call. And I leave a voicemail, or I talk to somebody. Celeste Malloy's office doesn't ask me my name anymore because they know my number. But 5 calls is a really great outlet so you don't get too bottled up with all the chaos going on. So, before I play this last video, and before I ask you to start brainstorming amongst ourselves, and the conversation doesn't have to end. We've got the room until 7:30. So yes, we can be talking in here. You can be talking to people. We can, get each other's attention with the microphone if we need to. But I really want you to know how much I treasure that you're here and that you give a damn. Thank you so very much. And you've probably seen this before, but it can't be said often enough. Mitch, how do I hit play? There we go.
Let's talk about kids.
Okay, Mitch, the sound is big, dude. Hang on.
That's great.
We might have to read it because I don't know what it Okay, since the sound is bad, I'm going to kill the sound and just play it so I'll read it to you. Over. Shut the fuck up, that's what it says. Over and over. If a cop pulls you over, shut the fuck up. If you're detained by any official, shut the fuck up. If you don't have a lawyer present, shut the fuck up. You guys got the point. Thank you. Now come and sign up to be delegates and come and learn about Discord. And everybody who raised your hand to run for office needs to talk to the Women's Democratic Club and Jim Gonzalez.